welcome back to Moonli. I hope everyone's having a really good week. Today we are going to talk about the menstrual cycle because yes, it is more than just a period, and we're going to talk about it in super basics. Not a super long video just because I want everyone to understand there's a basic to it, but there's also extended detail that I'm going to explain later in separate videos. So here we go. Stage 1. Follicular phase. So the follicular phase is actually the first day of your period, and this is also the first day of the menstrual cycle. So your period should last anywhere between 3 to 5 days, and within that, your follicular phase in total should last anywhere between 8 to 21 days. And this varies person to person, and for each person, it varies month to month how long their follicular phase will last. And so during this time, your pituitary gland up in your brain actually stimulates a hormone called the follicle stimulating hormone, or FSH. And FSH is responsible for talking to your ovaries and getting them to start maturing little eggs. So you actually mature more than just one egg. You actually mature several. And this hormone also triggers the hormone estrogen to start working. And estrogen has a lot of benefits, but in terms of just reproductive works, it actually is responsible for thickening the uterine lining of the uterus. So we have our little ovaries, like working to get some eggs ready, our fallopian tubes, and then our uterus. And essentially estrogen is there just trying to thicken it and get it ready for ovulation. Stage 2 is ovulation. So remember how estrogen was actually building to create a really thick uterine lining? Well, now that estrogen has reached its peak, it triggers a hormone called the luteinizing hormone, or LH. And LH essentially triggers one of those little eggs that was developing in your ovaries. It only chooses one. Chooses one of those to burst out of its follicle and actually go into the fallopian tubes. One of the fallopian tubes. And while it's sitting there in the fallopian tubes, it has 12 to 24 hours to become fertilized. And essentially, if there is no sperm, it will not become fertilized and it will dissolve. Stage 3. So stage 3 is called the luteal phase. This is probably what most people hear about. The luteal phase, in simpler terms, is the progesterone dominating phase. So the hormone LH that triggered ovulation also triggers the hormone progesterone. And progesterone is responsible for maintaining that thick uterine lining that estrogen was working so hard to build up. So progesterone isn't continuing to build it, it's just maintaining all of the nutrients in there, so that if that egg had become fertilized by sperm, that fertilized egg would end up in that uterine lining and to create a little human later, 9 months later. And this phase usually lasts anywhere between 12 to 16 days. They have said 10 to 11 days is okay, but anything less than 10 usually there's some type of deficiency going on, but that's for later detail. And so this phase is really awesome. Progesterone's called our calming hormone, and while that uterine lining is being maintained, if there is no fertilized egg after the 12 to 16 days that you're in your luteal phase, you will start your period and it all starts over again. So you start back up at stage 1, follicular phase, going back to getting your follicle stimulating hormone going and starting the phase all over again. That is the basics of the menstrual cycle. And when I first learned this, I thought it was the most amazing thing because I had been taught that I could just create humans all the time and I was irresponsible if I wasn't on the pill. But learning this has created so much amazing dynamic in my life, and later on I'll talk about it. But today that is the basics of the menstrual cycle. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. DM me on Instagram, message me on here, and if you really enjoyed this video, feel free to like it and also subscribe for future videos where I'll actually be going into detail about the follicular phase, ovulation, luteal phase, and that's pretty much it. Thanks for visiting, guys. I hope you have a really good week. Bye!